Hello, I'm Lord Jimsicle, and you're watching You Have Issues, a program all about comics. I went to see Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice over the weekend, so here is a review as promised. I'm going to be divulging a lot of spoilers, so if you've not seen the film yet, please just put me on pause and I'm going to be here when you get back. So, despite the overwhelmingly negative reaction, I actually enjoyed it. Oh, don't get me wrong, it had its flaws, but I'll go into those in a little bit. First off, I'll tell you what I did like about the film. Batfleck nailed it. I put myself in a food coma from eating so much humble pie after seeing him in action. Jeremy Irons as Alfred, being such a snarkalicious bastard, was fantastic. Much better than the preachy Alfred Michael Caine was. I really enjoyed the opening scenes where they retrofitted Bruce Wayne being in Metropolis in the final act of Man of Steel. I thought it was a really good move, and it really reinforced Bruce Wayne's hatred for Superman. Wonder Woman was fantastic. In my opinion, her small performance in this role should have been enough to silence the idiots who complained about her not being able to handle the role or her tits are not big enough. I thought she looked absolutely stunning, and there was a really good kind of air of mystery about her. She kicked so much ass in the final battle, so I'm really looking forward to seeing her solo film debut. The dream sequences by Batman were superb, especially the one where Batman was in the desert being surrounded by parademons and there was a destroyed city in the background. I don't know which one it could have been though. I'm going to assume Metropolis. My favourite one was when Bruce was sitting in the Batcave and then he was visited by the Flash in a clear nod to Crisis on Infinite Earths. The Flash warned Bruce about a potential future where Superman becomes a dictator because of the death of Lois. I wonder where I've seen that before. The cameos of Aquaman, Cyborg and the Flash were really good. They're really short but sweet. A bit like your mum in The Sack. Momoa looks badass as Aquaman, so I really can't wait to see his solo movie. The action scenes were fantastic. I think they were paced a lot better than they were in Man of Steel. Some scenes suffered from a bit of shaky cam, but thankfully not too much. What didn't I like about the movie? This might come as a shock to some of you, but I thought Superman was one of the worst things about the movie. I always hand-waved his characterization in Man of Steel as, oh, this is just an early part of his career. He's going to develop as the big heroic saviour that we all know. In this movie, however, it was just sustained that Superman is just a colossal dickhead. Why does Hollywood think this character is so difficult to write? If you're struggling, get a comic writer to do it, for fuck's sake. You know, he still behaved really recklessly with his powers, and there was a scene where he just decided to square up to Batman and just tell him off like a naughty schoolchild. You know, Superman is Superman because he doesn't do such petty bullshit like this. Now, Batman, you can't go on being Batman anymore. If you do, I'm going to be very upset, so don't go to your signal anytime it shines. I found Superman to be really bland and really shallow. He was more like a moping teenager complaining that no one looks up to him, and yet he behaves like a complete bellend. Snyder and Goyer just can't seem to get a grip on the character. It's really bloody frustrating. Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor can fuck off. His over-the-top erratic behaviour is annoying as fuck and doesn't suit the character one bit. His plan against Superman and Batman just felt like it was something he decided to do just for shits and giggles. There was nothing personal in it at all. There's nothing in the movie that makes incredibly clear why he hates heroes. In the comics, Lex hates Superman on a much more personal level because he feels it's a threat to his self-imposed title of the most mightiest man in Metropolis. You know, in this way, it feels much more menacing and tense and there's really something there. Whereas in this movie, it feels like they just handed Jesse Eisenberg a Joker script and said that he's got a feature-length nervous tic. Another thing is that there's no secret identities in this film. There is no point to them at all. Lex knows who Batman is, Lex knows who Clark is, Clark knows who Batman is, etc, etc. Why? What is the point? Anyway, moving on. Of course, there was the fight between Batman and Superman as featured and promised. So to set this up, Lex decided to kidnap Martha Kent and then order Superman to bring him Batman's head. The fight only went on for about 10 minutes, and unfortunately Batman was the victor thanks to the nerfing plot device known as kryptonite. Which means this will fuel enough Batwank for the next billion years for Batman fanboys. But I digress. The unifying factor of both heroes was when Batman had Superman at his mercy and was about to deliver the final blow, but then Superman mentioned that he needed to save Martha. He was referring to his own mother, Martha Kent, but that's also the name of Bruce's mum. So Batman then spares him and goes off to rescue Martha Kent. I thought this was an utterly stupid way of ending a fight. What if Superman's mum name was Mandy Kent instead? The final battle was superb and everyone kicked ass in it, although I did think it was utterly silly to end the movie with Superman dying. Most of the movie was taken up by planting seeds for what is going to be the greater DC cinematic universe, especially in the Desert Dream sequence where Batman is surrounded by parademons, but more notably than that is when Lex is incarcerated at the end and he prophetically hints at Darkseid's appearance later on. Despite the negatives I pointed out, I did enjoy the movie, even though it felt like a Batman movie with Superman just aimlessly floating around in it. I give it 3 out of 5 sad flecks. Now that my objective review is over, please allow me to put on the whinging comic fanboy filter. At the risk of sounding like a Superman fanboy, this Superman portrayal, as well as having Batman in the movie, is just absolutely typical of what DC have been doing to Superman on both page and screen. In short, they took a risk with Man of Steel. It didn't work as expected, so then they just hit the panic button and decided to shove Batman in what is supposed to be the sequel. Then they decided, oh, let's just give Batman 3/4 of the movie's screen time and not bother developing Superman any further. Oh, and let's ensure that Batman just stomps Superman with ease, because the crowd, let's face it, they just want to see Batman. Yes, that'll bring in the cash. Oh, and while you're there, be a good dear and just greenlight 3 more Batman films, would you? There's a good boy. Oh, and don't bother with another standalone Superman film. Nobody wants to see that. They said they do, but they really don't, because that would mean fleshing out a character that's not terribly angsty. So let's not bother with that and just finance Batman projects for the next billion years. Oh, and don't forget to put Superman in a coffin at the end of the movie. Yes, we're going to bring him back in Justice League, but until then, we just don't need him. What's the point? It's not like he's the first major superhero that DC published and is historically the most important comic character in history. Not to mention he's the codifier of every superhero trope you've ever seen in your life. Oh, the fanboy filter ran out. It's just as well, I suppose. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this episode of You Have Issues. I'm Lord Jimsicle. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to my friends Dexter and Mike, who do a lovely podcast called Let's Get Drunk and Talk Comics. They're a couple of fine chaps from Tennessee, and they do a very interesting podcast where they actually just get drunk and talk comics. I've put the links in the description. You'll be able to find it all there. I'm going to be appearing on their show relatively soon, so I'm very excited about that. At the moment, we're just trying to formulate a topic, what we can talk about, because they've already taken the good ones so far. Sadly, they don't agree with me liking the movie, but if we all like the same thing, the world would be fucking boring. Anyway, thank you very much. I'll see you soon.